Somewhere in Australia, a group of friends is on an adventure in the mountains. Later at night, in one of the tents, the other friends are seen waking up as they hear the lovers in a moment of romance. The young Liz tries to connect with her boyfriend Stephen, but he does not desire the same. The night continues with the noise that bothers them until the dawn of the following day. The lovers are Nina and Bob, who are in a recent relationship, but they show a great deal of affection and love. However, for Stephen, this will not last, knowing the friend he has and his past relationships. After the snack, Bob talks with his friend, having already noticed that he is somewhat distant from Liz. Stephen states that everything is fine. Next, they analyze the map and check where they are. In a joking tone, they realize they are far from any city, but this is something they have always wanted. The two draw lots to find out who will drive the car. But even though the vehicle belongs to Stephen, he loses and lets Bob drive. The friends then continue the adventure, wishing to explore more of the country. Inside the automobile, Stephen asks whether the trip is something new for Nina, but she only says that it is her first adventure without her parents. However, as a precaution, she brought a guidebook about what to do in various situations. The group keeps driving along the desert road that crosses the vast plains of Australia, with no cars or civilization in sight. A few hours pass, and close to 10 in the morning, Bob wakes the friends to inform them that they have company on the trip. When they look back, they see a cargo truck. The moment is amusing for the friends, who tell the newcomer that when the truck passes them, it will be an adrenaline rush because the lighter vehicle shakes during the overtaking. The young people show that they have already had a similar moment, and slow down just to match the truck's crossing. Nina asks if they will not give way, but the group wants to have one more moment in the adventure. Suddenly, their expressions change when they realize that the large vehicle approaches abruptly, not showing any desire to overtake them. Suddenly, the large vehicle collides with the rear of the young people's car, which frightens them. Fortunately, it was only a scare, and then the truck continues on its way, overtaking them. They question the dangerous action of the driver ahead, but the situation becomes an affront to Bob, who is driving. He accelerates the car, which worries his friend. Stephen asks him to let him drive, knowing that Bob has a short temper. However, Bob accelerates even more to overtake the truck. Stephen asks his friend to be careful with them and with his car, but, with a worrying expression, Bob insists. Unable to do anything, the friends just watch while the drivers dangerously play along the road. Bob tries to overtake the cargo vehicle, but the unknown driver does not allow it, swerving. Recklessly, Bob persists in overtaking, leaving Stephen's car very close to the side of the truck. Finally, Bob manages to pass his opponent, which for Liz is a moment of adrenaline and victory, making her insult the driver. At this, the situation leaves Stephen and Nina fearful. The recklessness continues, since Bob does not accelerate the car to move away, but persists in maintaining proximity to the truck. In the next minute, the truck, having greater engine power, accelerates until it hits the car again. This time, as if taking revenge for the affront of the young people, the unknown driver collides the front of his vehicle with the rear of the young people's car. The consecutive impact leaves the group in panic, asking Bob to stop. But due to the position of the car, this will not be possible and may cause an even greater accident if he tries to stop their car. However, the terror for them is not over. Suddenly, the truck collides with monstrous force, causing the smaller car to leave the road and roll over violently. The accident does not stop the unknown driver, who nevertheless continues on his route. Fortunately for the group, and luckily, everyone is alive. However, Bob is more injured, having one of his arms broken and a nasty cut at the fracture site. The scene is terrifying for Nina and Stephen. While Nina supports Bob, Stephen goes to his companion, who is in a state of paralysis due to the shock. He comforts her, asking about serious injuries, but she shows that she is fine. After the accident, they realize they are literally in the middle of nowhere, and their vehicle is useless for movement. The group helps immobilize Bob's arm, and Nina shows that she knows a bit about first aid. Fortunately for the friends, they brought supplies for a week. However, this is not something to celebrate, since Nina, calling Steven aside, states that Bob will not survive a week there with such an injury. The situation begins to be worrying, including for Liz, who, furious, kicks the car, confronting why the occupant of the truck did not stop to help them. Steven interrupts her and asks them to look at the kilometer ahead and shows that the cargo vehicle has stopped. The group wonders if the driver will come to them, since the stop shows that the unknown man is concerned about what he caused. They then decide to go to the unknown man to demand explanations, which, for Nina, is not something intelligent, since the driver might finish them off to erase the evidence of what he caused. Nina shows fear and concern, but Liz says that everything is fine and, ironically, says that if she needs her help or the knowledge from the guidebook, she will ask. While Nina stays to take care of her boyfriend, the couple Steven and Liz go to check the stop of the unknown man. Half an hour later, they approach the truck and are impressed by the great size of the vehicle, which carries 2 large containers. Steven notices that the cabin door is open and calls for the owner. When he receives no response, they approach and discover that there is no one there, a situation that worries them even more. The key is still in the ignition, showing that the driver would return. In the cabin, there is a sleeping compartment, showing the young people that there may be another person. The two check the surroundings, but no sign of people nearby. While the young Bob and Nina talk about their romance and what they will do to pass the boredom, on the road, Liz and Steven wait for the owners of the truck to return. Steven observes through binoculars the vast region of the Australian plains, with wide fields and low vegetation, but nothing that draws his attention. Next, Liz observes that the cargo compartments are protected by large padlocks. She curiously tries to force one open when someone approaches and touches her shoulder. The scare almost stops her heart, but she discovers that it is only the couple of friends who came to them. At that moment, the truck horn echoes, and Steven presses it to attract the attention of whoever is nearby, but no one gives any sign of life. Minutes later, Nina notices that Bob is paralyzed, admiring a small piece above the engine, a 3-headed dog, but it is nothing supernatural. Suddenly, gunshots echo through the area, and soon they observe a man running across the plain toward them, carrying a pistol. Fearful, they enter the truck, under the claim that Steven says he knows how to drive such machinery. After the group enters the truck, Steven accelerates the vehicle before the man can reach them. The radio suddenly turns on and plays music, but this does not bother the group. After an hour driving, Steven begins to feel sleepy and staggers at the wheel, while the others have already fallen asleep. Hours later, the group does not notice, but they leave the road involuntarily, something imperceptible to Steven, who even driving cannot understand the deviation, since he is apparently in an intense struggle against sleep. In the next scene, Liz wakes the group in fright, and Steven brakes the truck abruptly before they fall off a cliff. The moment leaves everyone without understanding how they stopped there, especially Steven, who states that he did not deviate from the main road. Liz confronts him, but he says he does not know how to explain how they stopped there. He states that he will reverse the truck, since turning around is unlikely because the road is short. The group agrees and returns to the cabin. However, when Steven tries to start the engine, the ignition does not work. Frustration takes over them, but Liz says that she managed to see a cabin a few kilometers back, and that they can go there to see if they can get something useful, such as a telephone, food, and more water. Once again, he and Liz leave alone, leaving Nina and Bob in the truck. The mountainous and rocky region conveys a hopeless situation, just like the relationship of the young people. In this situation, it is revealed that Liz and Bob had an affair, in which Steven was betrayed by Liz, which is why he appears so distant from her. Liz questions whether he will persist in his resentment, and when he will truly forgive her, since Steven managed to forgive only his friend. For a moment, he shows forgiveness and affection, but he is ironic and rejects his companion, strongly demonstrating the frustration he had with the past situation. Meanwhile, Nina tries to break the padlock with a stone, hoping to find supplies inside the containers. Noticing that she will not succeed, she gives up and goes to check the components of the truck. Upon opening the fuel tank, She discovers that there is no smell and confirms that there is no trace of liquid inside. Talking with Bob, she questions how the truck got there if there was no gasoline. Curious about the fact, she goes to check the engine. Observing the hose connected to the fuel system, she notices that it releases a red liquid similar to blood. Nina, intrigued, follows the destination of the hose. Under the vehicle, she discovers that the tubing leads into one of the containers. Back with Stephen and Liz, they reach the main road, but the option of searching for the cabin that Liz supposedly saw is dismissed by Stephen, who wants to wait until someone passes by. However, Liz says that she will not wait for the uncertain, and after taking some water, goes in search of what she claims to have seen. Inside the truck, Nina is with Bob when she hears the sound of an airplane. She goes outside and tries to make a fire as a signal. Bob begins to feel unwell, but regains his strength, and soon in front of him, he notices a cut in the seat. He kneels to check and discovers that inside there is a key wrapped in something organic. Leaving the cabin, he goes to the padlock and opens the compartment. At that moment, he begins to have hallucinations of a three-headed dog, and without control of his body, he enters the darkness of the container, and then the door closes, and what is heard are his screams of agony. When Nina goes to speak with her boyfriend, she does not find him inside the cabin. Desperate, believing that he wandered away from the truck, she goes out in search of him. Meanwhile, Stephen is on the road, in the heat, when he observes in the distance the armed man approaching his position. Frightened, he runs. In Liz's position, it is seen that she is still searching for what she had seen and is happy when she finds the cabin, away from the road and surrounded by trees. She runs, hopeful to find help, but upon arriving at the house, she notices that it is an abandoned place with nothing useful. On a shelf, she finds some canned food and opens one of them. She does not pay attention to what it is, because hunger is greater, and she soon consumes the pasty liquid. She reviews the mess and comes across an amputated foot, a scene that disgusts her, and in panic, she leaves the residence. Meanwhile, Stephen hides from his pursuer, but his shelter is exposed and soon the armed man subdues him. The unknown man questions the young man about where his truck is, and when he denies knowing, he is harshly threatened. Stephen begs for mercy, which the man apparently will show. However, the scene cuts and a shot is heard next. Back at the truck, Bob emerges from inside the container in a strange way, spitting something strange from his mouth and showing no pain at all from his broken arm. Hearing the screams calling for him, he does not react and walks away. Minutes later, Nina hears noises at the truck, and when she returns, she discovers it is Liz, who, after witnessing something terrifying, states that they need to leave the area. She tries to start the vehicle, and unexpectedly, the engine starts. Suddenly, Stephen approaches furiously. Besides being alive, he carries the weapon of the unknown man and also wears his clothes. He uncontrollably threatens his friends until he regains his senses and realizes what he is doing. He then goes to the front of the truck and fires at it, showing fury. Suddenly, Nina hits him on the head and knocks him unconscious. After witnessing the friend's fury, they decide to restrain him in a base under the truck. Nina keeps the weapon and they restart the journey, with Liz driving the large truck. Without them knowing, Bob approaches the friend and wakes him, questioning what is happening. Stephen claims that they did not take the truck, but that on the contrary, and in a supernatural way, the vehicle had captured them. This confusing discovery makes him state that they need to get away from the vehicle. Bob frees his companion and for a moment distracts him with an old pushing game. Stephen, seeing that the friend is well, participates. However, the unexpected happens. Bob, out of himself, strikes the friend strongly until he falls to the ground. And maliciously, Bob pushes him under the truck that is being slowly driven by Liz. The scene is lamentable, but Bob shows that he has always been Stephen's enemy. He holds him until the wheels finish him. The truck then stops, causing Nina to get out to check the terrain. As she goes around the truck, she comes across the terrifying scene of her friend Stephen lying lifeless. She screams, drawing Liz's attention. When the young woman also approaches, she panics upon seeing what happened. After mourning, they place him back in the base under the truck. Nina says that they need to leave that place immediately because everyone was acting strangely. Crying, Liz says that she only wanted an incredible place for her and Bob. The unexpected and confusing statement makes Nina realize the forbidden romance between the friends. Upset, she leaves her friend there and enters the truck. Inside the vehicle, Nina starts the engine and slowly turns back. Meanwhile, Liz hides behind the rocks to eat the canned food she got from the house. Suddenly, Bob approaches her and says that he has what they need, but will only give it to the two of them. The old romance is almost blooming again when Nina calls for her friend, causing Bob to move away at that moment. Nina gets out of the vehicle and notices that the friend's body has disappeared. Liz approaches her, claiming that she does not know anything anymore and that perhaps the friend was devoured by wild dogs. Nina returns to drive the truck. While hidden, the strange Bob talks to Liz, trying to convince her to return with him. Both, acting strangely, accept to reconnect again and together enter the container. Nina waits for her friend, but when she does not return in the next minute, being tired, she falls asleep. A few hours later, Nina wakes up hearing a scream. She gets out of the truck to check if it is Liz, but ends up finding Bob, who for her could already be dead. Bob continues not being himself. He says that he knows how the truck works, and that he also has something to show her. He then convinces Nina to follow him into the container. The young woman, not understanding the danger Bob presents, accepts. Fortunately, before entering, she secretly observes a bloodied shirt, which raises suspicion about her companion. She pushes him inside and locks him there. Then she starts the truck and continues forward to try to turn around. Upon succeeding, she drives for a few kilometers and reaches the road again. It does not take long until the vehicle stops working. Curious to understand the functioning of the machine, she gets out and goes to the rear of the truck, where Bob is imprisoned. However, she reflects on the danger and does not free him. Instead, she observes the lower piping that leaks red liquid and decides to check what is inside the other container. When Nina opens the door and enters, she discovers something more than terrifying and disturbing. There is machinery that grinds material, whatever it may be. On the conveyor belt, there are pieces of clothing, shoes, everything being separated from the red liquid. Soon, Nina discovers that it is blood, and the machinery destroys and consumes whoever is thrown inside. In panic, she runs away from the place and enters the vehicle. Upon starting it, she realizes that this monstrous multi-wheeled machine runs on a different fuel, human blood. On the road, a passenger car travels in the same direction as her, when suddenly the disturbed couple emerges in the cabin and attacks Nina, stating that they want control of the truck. Knowing that they want more victims to serve as fuel, Nina knocks Liz out and tries to stop Bob's actions, who wants to reach the family car. Unfortunately, the truck, with great force, destroys the other vehicle. Furious, Nina throws Liz out of the driver's cabin and fights with Bob, forcing him to stop the truck abruptly. Nina had become unconscious, but when she wakes up, she finds herself alone. She looks for the weapon, but does not find it. Going outside, she searches for the others. Going to the rear of the truck, she finds Bob dragging Liz's unconscious body to the grinder. He, in a disturbed way, says that he wants to have a life with her and now possesses the truck, which can give them everything. Nina knows that the young man is out of his mind. He is no longer himself. Even so, she accepts the invitation to follow him in the new life. She helps him carry Liz's body into the container, just to try to trap him again, but this time Bob already expected it and does not allow it. He captures her and then takes her to the grinder to determine her end like that of the other friends. Nina screams, thinking that someone might help her. Knowing that no help will come, she remembers her training. Fortunately, acting consciously, she strikes Bob in some parts and manages to dodge his arms and runs away from the truck to a forest area. Bob soon reaches her. Nina fights and tries to reach the weapon that had been inside her backpack all along. Upon grabbing it, she points it at Bob, but unfortunately she does not have the courage to end his life. He approaches her and makes her lower the weapon. However, Nina knows that he is a threat, so she shoots his body. To put an end to it definitively, Nina, without mercy, unloads the weapon into Bob, causing his death there. After that, Nina returns to the road. When in the distance, she observes the occupants of the passenger car next to the cabin of the vehicle. Upon seeing someone running toward them, they enter the truck and desperately leave, performing the same action as the young people. This scene makes it understood that the truck will claim more victims, working mysteriously in their minds to take control of them and make them commit atrocities for its own will. Night approaches, and Nina checks the wreckage of the destroyed trailer. She manages to get a blanket and water for herself. Then she is calmer for being safe. Then she sits at the roadside, waiting for someone to pass by, in that desolate and remote region far from the rest of the world, where the evil of the road still survives, using lives to maintain its survival.